Hi guys, how you guys doing? It's been a long time since I've seen most of you guys. Sure starting to miss you. Hope you guys are all doing well. And I hope you're able to find things to be thankful for during your weeks. I've had a nice week here. I got to go to my denturist on Monday and get my teeth all fixed up. So I can eat really fast now. I actually beat Mom eating dinner for the first time in about a year. And on Friday, we all got our haircuts, which was nice. My hair is actually getting so thick that every time I put in a ponytail, I was getting headaches. So very thankful to God for that. Had to wear masks when we went to our hair appointment. Ordered some a long time ago, but they never actually got here, so I sewed some. Made a tortoise one for Mom, had a Snoopy one for me. Make it pretty. Damien just got a green one because he doesn't really like to stand out. And hairdresser actually asked me to sew some more because she wanted some for her kids, and then I think she wants to try to sell some. So that'll be fun. If any of you guys need a mask, you just let me know and I can sew you guys up one. Today we're going to be continuing our story in Exodus. We're almost all the way through Exodus, just a few more weeks. Hope to see some of you guys on Zoom bingo. Haven't been able to have it for a few weeks, so I'm looking forward to that. And I hope you guys have a great week, and we think about you lots, and we're always praying for you. So, enjoy the lesson. To start today, I have some pictures to show you. How many of you have ever heard that Henry Ford invented the automobile? And how many of you have heard that Thomas Edison invented the light bulb? How many of you have heard that the Wright brothers invented the airplane? Did you know that we sometimes give credit to the wrong inventors? For example, the first gasoline-powered automobile was created by Carl Benz in 1885, 10 years before Henry Ford's self-propelled automobile was created. But we give the credit to Henry Ford. Sir Humphrey Davy actually created a powerful electric light about 75 years before Thomas Edison made his light bulb. But Edison's bulbs were better designed and became well known, so he got the credit for it. Then, the Wright brothers are famous for their first airplane flight in 1903. But a man named Richard Pearse in New Zealand also worked on an airplane invention and may have flown his aircraft several months before the Wright brothers did it. How would you feel if you invented something like these men did, but someone else got the credit for it? Have any of you ever come up with an idea or done something that someone else took credit for? And how did it make you feel? Most of us don't like it when someone takes credit for something that we said or did. Today, we will see how the Israelites sinned by giving credit that belonged to God to someone else. Remember that God saved the Israelites from Egypt and brought them out of slavery, just as he promised he would. Then he destroyed the Egyptian army at the Red Sea. And when the people got hungry and thirsty, God provided food and water in miraculous ways. In our last lesson, we learned about some of the special laws that God gave Moses to teach the people how to worship him and how to treat others, called the 10 Commandments. The first 4 commandments teach us how to worship God. Do you remember what those are? To put God first, worship only God, honor God with your words, and take time for God. Now let's see if you can remember the next 6 commands about how to treat others. Obey your parents, respect human life, obey God's design for marriage, respect others people's things, tell the truth, and be content with what you have. After God spoke to the people, he commanded Moses to come up to the top of Mount Sinai, where God wrote the 10 Commandments on 2 stone tablets with his own finger. He also gave Moses other laws about the Sabbath day and special festivals, as well as rules and punishments for when the people stole or hurt someone else. While Moses was receiving these important commands from God, the Israelites got tired of waiting for him to come down from the top of the mountain. Moses was gone for 40 days. The people said they didn't know what happened to Moses. Was he dead? Was he not coming back? Let's read what the Israelites did in Exodus 32. So if you have your Bibles out, you can open them to Exodus chapter 32, and we're going to start in verse 1. When the people saw that Moses delayed to come down from the mountain, the people gathered themselves together to Aaron and said to him, "Up, make us gods who shall go before us. As for this Moses, the man who brought us out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him." Who did the Israelites say brought them out of the land of Egypt? Moses. But was that true? Was it Moses who delivered them from Pharaoh with the 10 plagues and the parting of the Red Sea? No. It's true that Moses led the people, but it was God who rescued them with all the miracles. It's sad that the people already forgot who the real deliverer was and instead gave Moses the credit. Remember the inventors we talked about? Some men got credit for inventions that other people made before them. Here, the people gave credit to Moses for bringing them out of slavery in Egypt. Do you think that pleased God? No. And what else did the Israelites say to Aaron in verse 1? What did they want him to make? They told him to make gods who shall go before us. They were pretty mixed up. First, they gave Moses credit for doing things only God could do, and now they wanted Aaron to make an idol to go before them and lead them instead of God. Do you think that pleased God? No. Let's find out what Aaron did. So let's read verses 2 to 4. So Aaron said to them, "Take off the rings of gold that are in the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters. Bring them to me." So all the people took off the rings of gold that were in their ears and brought them to Aaron. And he received the gold from their hands and fashioned it with a graving tool and made a golden calf. And they said, "These are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt." What is a calf? A calf is a young cow or bull. Many people, like the Egyptians, worshipped bulls as a symbol of power. The Israelites wanted a strong animal to worship. In verse 4, what did the people say about the golden calf after it was made? They said, "These are your gods who brought you out of the land of Egypt." So let's think about what was happening here. What are the people doing? They're making and worshiping an idol, giving the idol credit for bringing them out of Egypt. The Israelites had picked up a lot of sinful ways of the Egyptians while they lived there. They wanted to worship God the way Egyptians worshiped their false gods by making an idol. This was directly against the command that God gave them. Which of the 10 commandments did they break? 1, you shall have no other gods before me. And 2, you shall not make idols or bow down to them or serve them. The Israelites already broke the first 2 commandments God told them to follow. They weren't worshiping God, they were worshiping a created animal. They made an idol of a golden calf and they called it their God. That was foolish of them to think that something Aaron made out of gold rings had the power to save them from Pharaoh. But that's just what they said. Just like the inventors who didn't get the credit they deserved, God wasn't getting the worship and the praise for all he had done for the Israelites. Instead, the people said that this golden calf that Aaron had just made brought them out of Egypt. This was a terrible sin. Aaron tried to get the people back to worshiping God by building an altar and announcing a feast to the Lord. The next day, the people got up early and made sacrifices on the altar. But they weren't worshiping God the right way. They ate and drank and celebrated the way the false religions did. They were out of control. They were mixing worship of God with idol worship like they had learned in Egypt. Meanwhile, up on Mount Sinai with Moses, God knew what the people were doing down below. He told Moses that they had already turned away from his commands and were worshiping a golden calf. God said the people were stubborn and rebellious and deserved to be punished for their sin. He said he would destroy the Israelites and start again with Moses. He would bless Moses and make him and his descendants a great nation. But Moses loved the Israelite people, so he prayed for them. This was an important prayer because God was ready to wipe them out. Moses spoke with God and reminded him that the Israelites were his people, whom he delivered from Egypt. He said that if God destroyed them, the Egyptians would think he was evil and brought the Israelites out of Egypt just to kill them. Then Moses spoke of the promise God gave Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that they would have as many descendants who would live in the promised land. Those descendants were the same Israelites God wanted to wipe out because of their sin. Moses pleaded with the Lord to turn from his anger and not punish the people as they deserved. God listened to Moses and did not destroy the Israelites. What attribute of God was shown here? He was being merciful. God would have been just to punish the Israelites' sin by destroying them all, but instead he showed mercy. Moses' prayer saved the Israelites from death, but they were still in big trouble. Moses hurried down the mountain with the 2 stone tablets in his hand. Joshua, Moses' servant, was waiting for him. When he and Moses got close to camp, they could hear shouting. Joshua thought there was war going on in camp, but Moses knew it was the people singing and worshiping the golden calf. Sure enough, it was as bad as God had said. Moses saw the golden calf and the people dancing around, and he was furious. How could the people sin and reject the Lord after all he had done for them? Moses threw down the tablets and broke them. Then he burnt the golden calf and ground it into powder. He sprinkled the powder in the water and made the people drink it. But the people weren't the only ones in trouble. Moses had left Aaron in charge. So listen to the conversation between Moses and his brother Aaron. Turn to Exodus 32, verses 21 to 24, and follow along as I read. And Moses said to Aaron, "What did this people do to you, that you have brought such great sin upon them?" And Aaron said, "Let not the anger of my Lord burn hot. You know the people, that they are set to evil. For they said to me, Make us gods who shall go before us. And for this Moses, the man who brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him. So I said to them, Let any who have gold take it off. So they gave it to me, and I threw it in the fire, and out came this calf." Did Aaron take responsibility for making the calf? No, he said the people gave him their gold. He threw it into the fire, and a calf came out. Aaron's version of the story was not the whole truth. He blamed the people and made it sound like the gold formed into a calf by itself and popped out of the fire. Ta-da! Just like that. What did Aaron actually do to make the golden calf? Who can find the answer back in verse 4? He fashioned the gold with a graving tool to make the golden calf. Now we may think it was awfully silly of Aaron to blame the people and say that the calf made itself, but most of us do the same thing Aaron did when he knew he had sinned. We blame someone else or we twist the truth. Aaron didn't want to take responsibility for his sin and confess it. He had felt pressured by the people, and he gave in and made an idol like they wanted, but he had the choice to say no, so he couldn't blame the people for what he had done. Moses went back up the mountain and confessed the people's sin to the Lord, but God said that he would have to punish them. So let's read the punishment God sent in Exodus 32:35. Then the Lord sent a plague on the people because they made the calf, the one that Aaron made. They were all guilty. The people wanted an idol to worship, and Aaron made one. God showed mercy by not destroying the people for their sin, but he still justly punished them with a plague. What attribute of God means that he is fair and must punish sin? Just. The Israelites had learned a lot about God's faithfulness and omnipotence. He kept his promise to bring them out of slavery in Egypt by using powerful miracles. Now, God had to show the Israelites that he was also just. He would punish their sin, but he was also merciful to keep them as his people. He would still lead them to the land of Canaan like he promised when he made his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The Israelites quickly turned away from the Lord while Moses was with God on Mount Sinai. They wanted an idol to worship. They broke God's command to worship only him and to not make a carved image and bow to it. God was ready to destroy the people because of their sin, but Moses begged God for mercy and confessed their sins to him. God listened to Moses' prayers because God is just. He sent a plague to punish the people, but because of his mercy, he didn't wipe them out. Did you know that we have someone speaking for us to God the same way that Moses spoke for these people? Can you guess who it is? Listen as I read from 1 Timothy 2:5. For there is one God, and there is one mediator between God and men. That man is Jesus Christ. A mediator is someone who comes between two people to settle a problem. Jesus Christ is the only one who can bring peace between God and sinners, because God is holy and we are not. Jesus gave his own life for sinners. Because of his sacrifice on the cross, we can come to God through faith in Jesus. Just as Moses loved the Israelites and didn't want to see them destroyed, Jesus loved all of us so much that he died and rose again, so we would not have to be punished forever in hell. God showed mercy to the Israelites when Moses asked, and God shows mercy to those who confess their sins and turn to Jesus, putting their trust in him to save them. Goodbye, and I'll see you guys all next week.
The Lord your God is God, the faithful God who keeps covenant, in steadfast love with those who love him, and keep his commandments. To 1,000 generations, 1,000 generations, 1,000 generations. Hey! Know therefore that the Lord your God is God, the faithful God who keeps covenant, in steadfast love with those who love him,